411 Live.
Where you can learn about issues that impact us every day. State of world, 411 Live.
Real people, real talk.
Made to help people in our community in every way. For your girl, 411 Live.
When you are struggling in life, I mean, really struggling, you feel like everything's coming down on you. What joy it is when someone throws you a lifeline. Well, today I'm talking to someone who has a lifeline to throw based on her lived experiences. Hello, I'm Beverly Taylor, and this is the 411 Live. Real people, real talk. I am really honored by my guest. Today joining me, Belinda Pittman, who is the CEO and founder of Nia Imani Family. And I would characterize Nia Imani as a beacon of hope for young homeless women, mothers. And through Belinda's journey, we're going to talk today about some of the personal struggles and going on to her kind of being a pioneer of trauma-informed care efforts and all of the things that she's done really inspire me. So first of all, Belinda, thank you for being here.
And thank you for having me.
So I have to confess, I know I have hounded you to be on the podcast with me. And I want to tell you why. Because, of course, you know, I was a reporter with a local TV station, and I've interviewed you a few times, and Nia Imani, I've come out and looked at the organization and the setup, and I was always impressed.
Thank you.
By you, by what you were doing, by the mission. So when I heard that there was a little transition going on, I was like, this is a good time to have you on. So I am going to go back. I'm just going to kind of start in the early years.
Okay.
I'm looking for, kind of the who's and the what's that made you what you are. And I was thinking about some of the things that I read. And I read about a grandfather that was in your life that had an impact. And I know you had personal struggles, abusive marriage, facing homelessness with children.
Yes.
So kind of take me back. What did all that look like?
Well, I was born in half of my early years as a child was in Arkansas. And
okay.
I spent a lot of time with my grandfather and my grandmother. So my grandfather had a impact on me, even as an adult.
Yeah.
I remembered our conversations. And I would always go to him for answers, but my grandfather would never give me the answer. He would send me to the library. So,
Really?
Yes. So that grew with me.
Mm-hmm.
So when I needed to find out something, I spent a lot of time in the library.
Kind of
organizing.
researching, yeah.
That's right, to find it. Because as he said, it's in a book someplace. Someone has already had the experience. Go find it.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just carried that with me. And grandfather was a pillar and was close. After that, later in my life, I got married.
How old were you?
How old am I now?
How old were you when you got married?
I was 20 when I got married.
Okay.
So I got married. I had 3 children, 2 daughters, and a son. So during that time, life took a turn for me. And I ended up leaving. I knew that my marriage was becoming abusive.
Mm-hmm.
Started out with language, and then I knew that after the language, I felt it was going to get worse.
Mm-hmm.
And I did not want that to happen to me, or I didn't want my children to be exposed to their father being abusive, which they were already verbally. So I decided I've got to just get out of this.
Yeah.
And so I stuck around, but then one day it just hit me. And I had to talk with my children and said, Mommy's going to leave. Okay. And she said, well, where are we going to go? It's like,
Right.
no, where mommy's going to go. You guys are going to stay here with that. So I didn't want you to do that. You know, Belly, I could have went home, but that was not my mother's responsibility. Once that I left, I did not want to put that back on my parents. So the only option for me that I discovered was a shelter.
Mm-hmm.
So I took my children, and the shelter at the time was Sojourner Truth, and it was right off of Wisconsin Avenue, a couple of blocks off of 27th of
Yeah.
Wisconsin. It's a big, huge house. So that's where I went and I took my children. So that's where the life of, for just me and my children together, that's where it began. I did not realize the environment that I had put myself in. It was something very new to me. I had not seen the things before that I saw at the shelter. I saw so many
what do you
young
mean?
women,
Oh, so many young women.
so
Oh,
many
yeah.
young mothers there, like myself, and with their children.
Yeah.
But for them, I began to pick up it was a norm.
Mm.
It was okay. They were fine there. When I was struggling with how am I going to deal with this kind of a situation, I didn't work outside the home. So it was hard to get a job. And my whole thing was, how am I going to get out of here? So having some conversation with some of the other women there didn't give me the answer. It was like, okay, I'm not trying to settle in to this place, so I have to figure out how I'm going to get out of here. So I left my children in their original schools. I would get up every morning, and I would travel on the bus with them and take them to
To
school.
school. Yeah.
But then I would come back, and I would visit with the counselor, and I would spend a lot of time talking with the counselors and trying to really figure out how was I going to get out. But at the same time of trying to figure out how it would happen for me, I kept flashing and thinking about all the other moms that was around me with children. And with understanding, for some of them, it was not their first time. It almost was like it was a norm that they would be there for a short period of time, they would leave, but they would return
Right.
again. So finally, someone brought up to one of the counselors that they felt that I was going in and I was telling the counselor conversations that I was having with
With
the,
the
with the women.
ladies.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so, but that is not what was happening. So it kind of continued. And then they started saying things to my children. And so that was absolutely a no-no. So I talked to the mothers, and then I went back and I talked to the counselor. And I asked the counselor that when we have group this evening, is it okay, could I speak and share? And so she asked me, did I mind sharing with her what it was that I had in mind? And I says, I just want to share with them about what they're saying, that it's a rat that's in the pack. And so,
And you were the
I was the rat that was in the
Okay.
pack.
Okay.
They thought.
Yeah. Right.
So it happened. She let me speak. And so what I shared with the mothers was that although my situation before coming there was different, okay, I don't know what any of their situations was, is what I shared. But the situation that was is no more. I am one of you all, homeless mother with her children and no job, and trying to figure out how to get out and to get myself back on terms with my children and being able to support us and live independently again in the community as
Right.
I was living before.
Did they get it?
Yes, because I shared. Yes, I did come back and share that one of the women in the group was with her abuser near the site. And that was a no-no. We were not to reveal to anyone the location where we was at.
I remember that. Yeah.
And so from her, what had happened to her and what was exposed in group and she was sent to the hospital, I felt that if the abuser did that to her, he had no problem with being that way with anybody else.
Yeah.
And I felt that this is my community now, just as it's yours. And so I have to be protected for that. And so, absolutely, I did. And so I shared with the group, if you do not want me to come back and report who's breaking the rules, just make sure I don't see it.
So you already were standing out as a leader. You were already standing out as a leader. I'm going to move you on just a little bit more because you had maybe something that a lot of those women did not have. And that, you had this work ethic that was already there. You said you didn't work out of the home, but you had a work ethic, and you had this kind of this entrepreneurial spirit. I don't know if it was birthed from the need, but you moved on, and you started your own business?
Yes, I did. I moved on. I started my own business, and the business that I created was to go out and to take care of professional women that was working long hours of their children. So I created everything that I needed to create, and then I started placing ads in the North Shore and the South Shore paper.
Look at you.
And so from there, I got my first job working with the family, and I was able to just go from there. So as I was doing that, I would work with other mothers because I found, though, that it was like a job that was lonely. You have no one else. You're the only adult, and you're working with children. So how could I be of more value to the family that I was working for? Because my whole impact and thought was about is that I have to make enough to support myself and my children. And there's other things that I need. So how can I generate additional income? So this was a way. So I started recruiting other moms. I started training them of things to do, set up interviews with them. I would go through the interviews with them and work with them. This is how you become valuable to this family. Okay. And then we selected our own names. And so the names that we used, we called ourselves home managers. And so they got jobs. And so with them getting jobs within close proximity with the community that I was in, I would then tell them, let's plan things to get together, plan things with the children. Let's meet at the park. Let's take them swimming and do those kinds of things. After that, then I went into cleaning.
Okay.
The cleaning business. And so from cleaning, then I went back. I hired mothers and men that people were saying they're lazy, they don't want to work, they all are on AFDC. So I went to that building. That's where I recruited the people to help me to do the cleaning. And then I visited and I went to a seminar to learn more about cleaning so that I would be able to train the people that was with me. Because I figured that we have to be different. We've got to do something different. We have to act different, and we have to be the best at what we do. And that was it. The name of Total Care Cleaning. And the slogan was, you've tried the rest, now try the best. So
that's great.
And we went on from that. At the time, I still was meeting with mothers at the shelter and saying that I was going to one day start a transitional housing program. Because from talking and discussion, the hardest thing for all of us was how was we going to remove ourselves from the situation that we was in with no job, no money, and the majority of mothers had a lack of education. I can put myself into that category as well because I did not complete high school. I left as it was very confusing between Michigan and traveling back and forth between Michigan and Wisconsin. So everything just got kind of screwed up for me school-wise. So I didn't actually graduate. So I was in that category as well. So to be an example, if I wanted them to work with me to change my life, then I went to MATC. And that's where I went to school to get my GED.
Yeah.
So one thing I would like to share is that the women was very supportive. They was very supportive.
That's
And so
encouraging.
it really
Yeah.
was. And so they said, we really believe that you're going to do this and that you'll come back and you will help mothers like us. And so I did. I started setting up little pilot groups to meet. So at the same time that I was doing the family's jobs, I went to UWM. I knew Mr. Harpool. And so Mr. Harpool and I formed a relationship. Actually, that's who became a mentor
Okay.
to me. And that's how I got to the university that Mr. Harpool referred. The university hired me to make a connection between the university and people within the inner city.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, as I did that, and so I had 5 groups that I was able to create and make that connection between the university. So what happened was it was extension. I created a program. And so the program was called CAN, Community Action Learning Network. What the university did was appointed a professor to work with me because the numbers in the group that I had formed, they could not believe that I had those many individuals and created 5 groups.
We talk about networking. You're the queen bee. I'm going to stop you there. We're going to talk more about how this evolved into Nia Imani. And by the way, she was saying she, didn't finish high school and then later got the GED and then MATC. And this woman has an honorary doctorate now. So we'll talk about that too. Hey, you're listening to the 411 Live. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
One scorching heat wave will leave me powerless to cool my insulin.
When the storm rolls in, my time to find a pet-friendly evacuation center will have run out.
I'm relying on luck, but who knows if it'll be on my side.
When it comes to disasters and emergencies, it's not a matter of if, but when. Take control. 1. Assess your needs. 2. Make a plan. 3. Engage your support network. Let's prepare so we all have a better story to tell.
When we have the food we need, we are at our best. We push further. We rise higher. We unlock our full potential. When we have the food we need, we make our communities stronger. Together, we can help everyone get the food they need to thrive. Join the movement to end hunger at feedingamerica.org/actnow.
Welcome back to the 411 Live. My guest, Belinda Pittman, and she's the CEO of Nia Imani Family. And she was talking about kind of her journey into Nia Imani. And we're about to hit that. She was at this point at UWM, starting a group, special group. And is this where the evolution happens?
Yes. That is where it happened because once that I was able to do that, and one of the professors that worked with me worked to prove that the method that I was using to work with people was actually an educational method of being able to get people to understand and then to move on the things that was worked out for them. That was very exciting for me for that to happen and to take place.
And I'm going to stop you there because that is really pivotal because a lot of times, we have these ideas, these programs and stuff, and people want that tangible, they want results. What are the analytical things that you can tell me about this. And you're getting this from a university.
From a university,
yeah.
Yes. So that worked out very well. But all during the time that I was doing that, I still was thinking about how was I going to get the transitional housing program going. I stayed at the university for almost 3 years before I left. And I just had a dream one night that said, you can't wait to get the money. You can't wait to get the money. So I thought about that and says, I don't think I will get that much money to do. So what I did was that I then started looking for apartment buildings. I found an apartment building on 60th and Silver Spring. It was actually the old Carmen Village apartments on 64th and Carmen. So I went to that building. It was several apartment buildings there. I just got one of the signs and saw who owned the building. It was a company out of Chicago. I made the call. Of course, I didn't get the meeting the first 3 times that I called. So I just would go back and think about why. Then maybe around the 5th call, they decided to see me. So I went down to Chicago. In that meeting, I explained to them what I wanted to do, that I would be responsible for the mothers to pay their rent. I would collect the rent from them, and I would make sure that it got into the management company. What I needed from them was to go in and make the repairs cosmetically and make the building look nice. They did that.
Oh, wow.
So once they did that, and then I still thought, where am I going to get this money to pay the rent? So then I went to social service. I went to social service, and I had a meeting to say, I will work with mothers that are losing custody of their children because of their histories of using drugs and alcohol. And where I got that from was from the mothers during my time at the shelter. Many of them was on drugs. So I went there, and that's exactly the way that it was set up. That I was able then to take mothers that they would refer to Nia Imani, and work with them on a reunification with their children. And so for some of them, I was able to complete and fill the unit. I had 12 units with moms who was right on the brink of losing their children. So that's how Nia Imani really did get started. And I still didn't have enough money to pay the security deposit. I had enough to pay the rent because social service was willing to pay the first month's rent for all the mothers.
Okay.
And so the individual I was working with was a lady by the name of Allie Jai, and Allie had a degree in alcohol and drugs. Okay, and so I needed her because I didn't have a history and working in that and didn't know anything about it. So I was really dependent on her for that portion of it. So we teamed up together. Then we called out TV6 to interview and talk about what we were doing, and so they came. And so I said that I shared that I have everything that's needed, but Nia Imani does not have the funding to pay the security deposit. But I have the faith, and I believe that as long as I keep the faith, even if it is the size of a mustard seed, I still believe that this is going to happen.
Yeah.
That's how it ended. And actually, the next day, I received a call. From Jane Pettit, who said that she saw the segment on TV6 and that she would meet me and talk. And so we met at a restaurant on Port Washington Road, and we had the conversation. We talked, but at the end of the conversation, then she says, I'm going to make this contribution to Nia Imani so that you can start your project.
Beautiful.
And that's how I got started.
That's excellent. Okay, so I'm looking at the time and it's like, oh, no. Okay, so I remember going and doing interviews at Nia Imani, and I was so impressed because you've got these apartments. These ladies have their own apartments with their children, individual apartments, set up, kitchen, the whole household thing. And you're teaching them all these things to be successful in running a household with your children, financially, all of these things. Give me I know the financial part. What else are you teaching them?
Who they are. Our first things that mothers understand, the question is put to them is, who am I? Who am I? Where am I going? How am I going to get there? And what will I need upon arrival?
Wow.
That is an acronym that I work with the mothers. Something else that is very dear to me is that I use the turtle as a metaphor. I use that as a metaphor for me in my life, and I learned a lot about it. So I use it with the mothers and work with them. I teach through telling stories. That's how we get things done, is through stories. And I began to find out that they understood this way of learning better than just trying to get them to do something without having meaning behind it in
Right.
a way that they could understand.
Just those lectures.
That's right.
Yeah.
So all the mothers have been traumatized from a very early age. These was mothers that raised themselves and had been on drugs at a very young age, didn't complete high school, had been raped as young girls. So it was very traumatizing to them. So that's where I started at with them. I actually started them gathering information, and from that information that I would gather, we would work on those things. And I found that there was all issues for all of them that had happened. But before anything else could happen, they needed to heal. They needed to understand what happened to them in their lives at such early ages. And then from there, to teach them the skills that they did not have. See, everybody wasn't raised with a mother and a father. Okay? And even as single parents, all of them wasn't raised with a mother that taught them the things that they needed to excel in life as they got older. And also with their children was not able to as well. So with all those issues, then I started creating. And with them filling out, and this is how I work with them, because I knew. So if it happened to someone at 6, I took them back to age 6. Happened to someone at 14, took them back to 14. And we will work ourselves up from that point to be young adults. And so it really became a method, a way of working with women that had been traumatized early in their lives. So that was important to me because if they were traumatized, so was the children.
Oh, yes, absolutely. I know you've had many success stories that you could tell, but I'm going to, in these few little minutes that I have, you're transitioning now. You've done this work for almost 30 years. Yes. You're transitioning and you're looking at racial understanding and connections. And you've told me, how you've seen that people they really don't know their history, right? So you are opening this up, not just focused on women and men, and you're trying to get these conversations going. So what are the conversations?
The conversations are conversations that I would like to see take place was with Black and white. Mm-hmm. And then eventually I understand other cultures would become a part of those conversations. I know that there are things that as I was growing up that I knew that people have images and they were not always good about us as African American people. So I figured that one day someone came over and one of the young ladies asked me and says, Miss Belinda, it is always white people that come here to help you. Why is that? And so for her, then just immediately came in my mind and says, oh, I didn't know that they were white. Because I was just looking at what they want to contribute to the organization. But that really got me thinking, and so did it from my upbringing. Because for me, then it was a divide between Black and white. And I wanted to see the conversations happen. And so what I came up with, I first started out with saying, let's create courageous conversation. Then I added, let's create courageous racial conversation. So as we begin to talk about that and look at the space and how the space was set up, well, people that was working with me kept saying, as we was trying to lay it out, well, this is going to be a safe space, and this is what a safe space provides. And I says, how can we say that and be 100% sure when people can't go to the movie and things are happening? People can't go to church, place of God and worship, and things will happen. So I would prefer to say, I said, brave space. We're going to create a courageous, brave space for racial conversations.
Nice. Okay. I'm going to stop you there. I know there's more that you could say about that, and I'm going to let you. But we're going to do that in part 2. of the podcast, right? We will be joined by someone who you have picked to be the executive director of Nia Imani as you venture off into the racial conversation space. And we want to introduce her, and she's coming aboard with your blessing. So thank you, Belinda, for being with me for part 1 of the 411 Live. Hey, and thank you for listening. This, of course, is the 411 Live. Real people, real talk. I'm Beverly Taylor. Until next time, God bless. If you would like to check out past episodes, there are many ways. Go to your favorite podcast platform. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram. Like and watch us on Facebook. Watch and subscribe to our YouTube channel. And if you have suggestions for future episodes, go to our website, the411live.org.